Good afternoon, and welcome again. While y'all are getting seated, I'll briefly introduce myself, and we will engage in our first afternoon session, closing the wealth gap. I'm Cheryl Holland. I grew up in this area and started a financial advising firm of my own about 20 years ago. And we now manage about $1 billion for 200 families. And so I am exceptionally delighted to be here to talk about and with our very august panelists about the issue of closing the wealth gap, which has something to do with closing the income gap, but much deeper systemic issues that we need to talk about, learn about, share, and discuss. When I walked in the room this morning, I just felt huge upspring of gratitude. I've been on the road lately in LA and Boston, and because I'm in the world of finance, oftentimes I walk into a room and there's a woman at each table, if I'm fortunate. And I don't think I realize how much of a toll that takes until I walk into this room of talented, vibrant, engaged women, and I just feel my soul being watered. And so thank you from a place of gratitude, and thank you for the inspiration. And I hope when you walk out of this session that you personally feel inspired to take a personal step to make a difference in your own wealth gap, if there is one, and if not, help another woman make a difference, and to take a step as an advocate, as we're all doing in this room together, so that together, with passion and inspiration and intellect, all the gifts we have, we are going to make a difference between this 53 and this 74 and make it 100 in our lifetime. I have complete faith in that, and this is the kind of day that will make that difference. So before we go much further along, the panel would like to show you a video that we think will more succinctly share with you what the wealth gap is all about than maybe we could do in 30 minutes. So, Emmy, if you will roll it for us.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Elaine. Are you ready for this?
I think so.
Let's begin.
It's been months since millions of women marching in cities across the United States focused our attention on gender inequality. Now, one issue that caught my attention is the fact that women are more likely to be the sole, primary, or co-breadwinner in their families than ever before, and yet they still earn far less than men.
Income inequality is a key issue affecting the economic security of women and their families. But even if we close the pay gap, a huge wealth gap would still be there. We all know women earn 79 cents for every dollar earned by men. But most people don't realize that women own only 32 cents on the dollar. And Black and Latina women own just pennies on the dollar compared to white men and white women. So if we're going to build women's economic security, we have to tackle income and wealth inequality.
Which raises two questions. How is wealth different than income? And secondly, why is the wealth gap between women and men so large?
Wealth is a much more accurate picture of how you're doing financially. It's a balance of assets minus debts. Several factors contribute to the women's wealth gap. To name a few, women make less than men, so we're less able to save. We're more likely to work part-time, usually because we're caring for family members, which limits our access to employer benefits that help turn income into wealth. We often can't access tax subsidies that encourage savings and investment for retirement or home ownership because of the way they're structured. And all of these challenges are more intense for women of color who are impacted by racial and gender disparities.
So, Elena, what can we do about it?
We need a broad menu of solutions that addresses income and wealth inequality. On the income side, we need to keep pushing for pay equity, affordable childcare, and paid family leave. On the wealth side, we could start by tackling two key challenges: retirement savings and tax benefits. First, we need to support new strategies to expand women's access to retirement accounts, like state programs, Secure Choice here in California, for example, that enables smaller employers to offer their workers access to accounts. And this includes portable benefits tied to individuals and not employers. So independent contractors, domestic workers, and Lyft drivers could access them. Second, as policymakers debate tax reform, we need to keep asking the question, who benefits? If working women and their families don't benefit, we need to push back. For example, 2/3 of households, many of those led by working women, don't itemize their taxes, so they don't benefit from deductions like the home mortgage tax deduction. Working families and households led by women are much more likely to benefit from tax credits, especially if they're refundable. So expanding the earned income tax credit and the child tax credit should be key priorities for women. These strategies support everyone, but they would really benefit low-income women and women of color who are most affected by the women's wealth gap.
So closing the women's wealth gap is good for families, communities, and the national economy. It gives families the cushion they need to weather a financial crisis. It helps them save and invest in their communities. And all of this contributes to a strong economy. In short, we all benefit.
And who knew Mr. Reich could draw as well as he could write? That was a nice surprise to me. Each of the panelists is going to introduce themselves and a little bit about their background, and then we're going to have a conversation together about a variety of topics that impact the wealth gap, and then we'd like to have a conversation with you. And so I don't think, having witnessed the day so far, I need to entice anyone to ask a question. But just in case, you can prepare, there will be prizes. So, the Money Savvy Pig, for those of you who are raising young women to be successful financially, and several other books that I brought on things like Where Will You Be 5 Years from Today that help people plan and think about their financial future. So be ready with your questions so you can get a great reward prize. Stephanie, I'm going to begin with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll go across the table, and then we'll begin our conversation.
Sure. My name is Stephanie Vokral, and I am the owner and managing principal of Critical Transitions Wealth Advisors. So I have been a financial advisor for about 20 years. So I started when I was 12.
Yes, you did.
So we're in Columbia about, 4 years ago. I really had come to a point in my career where I really wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to do something I was much more passionate about. I was in a team at that time, and I decided that I was going to start my own practice. And in fact, I was going to do something that I was told I would fail at, which was I was going to focus on working with women. Specifically, I was going to work with women who were going through a very tough time. And so many of my clients are transitioning from the loss of a spouse and going through divorce. I do a lot of work in divorce. So yeah, it is extremely rewarding. So we are here locally in Columbia.
Thank you, Stephanie. Next, Elle.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ellcentrell Phillips, and I am a member of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, and I happen to be the chair of the Economic Empowerment Committee. So with our organization, we have the opportunity to advocate on behalf of women and girls of color, of African descent rather, and we go into the community and share our knowledge and our skills and partner with other organizations to bring the